Got the fabric stash, Quilter flying colors splash. Pins and patches, stories grow, stitching secrets we all know. Patchwork of laughter sewn in time, a spool of joy on every line. We chat, we sew, we laugh, we thrive. Stephen and Walter, our life. Sewing tales with every square, buttons falling everywhere. A crooked seam, but who will care? Iron presses line so neat, friendships quilt can't be beat. Patchwork of laughter sewn in time, a spool of joy on every line. We chat, we sew, we laugh, we thrive. Stephen and Walter, our life. Sewing tales with every square, buttons falling everywhere. A crooked seam, but who will care? Iron presses line so neat, friendships quilt can't be beat. Patchwork of laughter sewn in time, a spool of joy on every line. We chat, we sew, we laugh, we thrive. Stephen and Walter, our life. Our life.
Stitch by stitch they weave the tale, a patchwork life where laughs prevail. Patterns clash, but who can tell? Quilted chaos suits us well. Stephen and Walter live on air, threading humor, they don't care. Teaching, chatting, pulling strings, life's a quilt of funny things. Pins and needles, jokes abound, sewing secrets they have found. Fabric flying all around, it's a show where joy is bound. Stephen and Walter live on air, threading humor, they don't care. Teaching, chatting, pulling strings, life's a quilt of funny things. Pins and needles, jokes abound, sewing secrets they have found. Fabric flying all around, it's a show where joy is bound. Stephen and Walter live on air, threading humor, they don't care. Teaching, chatting, pulling strings, life's a quilt of funny things. Pins and needles, jokes abound, sewing secrets they have found. Fabric flying all around, it's a show where joy is bound. Pins and needles, jokes abound, sewing secrets they have found. Fabric flying all around.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Stephen and Walter Live. Glad to see everybody here, and I can see there's quite a few people in chat already. So maybe today's topic has got you going. I don't know. Or you're just bored out of your mind. You have nothing better else to do except come here. But either way, let's see who is here. So we have got Barb is here. She's number one at the top of the list. You know, it used to be Russ was always the top one on the list. We have not seen Russ on here in weeks. I don't know. Is it something I said? Is he lurking? Maybe he's working on a special project and he can only do it while we're on the air. I don't know what's going on with Russ, but who knows? Probably just busy. Maybe he's out sunning himself or something like that. You know, these things happen. So anyways, who else do we have here? We have got Nina is here, and Caroline is here as well. She says, excellent free motion quilting on, so chatty. See, there you go. You were nervous. People are appreciating it. Dan is here. Hi, Dan. I hope you are getting better. She says it's her favorite Sunday afternoon entertainment. And Sue is here as well. And Pat Wainwright. She says, good afternoon, Stephen Walter and all of you. It's 81 degrees in my part of New York State. Well, that's not bad. 81's kind of an average summery day. Ours is 26 Celsius, so that's what? 52, about 82, about the same. Yeah. It's about the same here, too. Judy's here. Hi, Judy. From sunny Georgia, she says. Is it never not sunny in Georgia? I don't know. And Charlotte is here as well, and Karen B. And Suzanne is here. Shadow Wind is here. Gloria is here as well. And let's see, everything jumped to the top of the screen. Bonnie is here. Dubrovka is here as well. And Al, of course. And it's a beautiful day in Timmins. It's good to know. Yeah, let's see. Going down, deluxe one. Oh, Pam. It's Pam in Minnesota is here as well. And Karen from Vancouver, USA. And Andre, or is it Andre, is here as well from St. Catharines. Yay, another Canadian. I think, is this your first time here? Because I don't know if I've ever seen your name pop up before. So welcome. And Mary is here from Warm, Virginia. Arta is here as well from San Diego, where it's very hot and humid. I would imagine it probably is. We have been to San Diego, but not many, many years. So there might be a few other people join us as per usual. So we'll just jump right into what we've been working on. I'll start with me, because Walter's been working on things, but not sewing related. But we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's see if I can get this up on my screen. So these are things I'm going to talk about in more detail come Tuesday. May touch on them a little bit tomorrow on Monday Morning Coffee with Stephen. But I'm working on about 3 projects at the same time. Actually, I just added another project, which I'll talk more about on Tuesday. It involves Walter and a quilt that he never finished. So I'm going, well, you finished the blocks.
I finished all the blocks, but I never finished the quilt. So.
Yeah, but I will show you what that looks like on Monday or Tuesday as well. So the upper row of the bluey colored stars you've seen, that's from Adam Sews' Jelly Roll Star. And I've also decided to make that same pattern using leftover strips of Christmas fabric. And that's what those ready colored stars are. And then I'm working on a wall hanging, which is all done in the hoop, embroidery, and it's no applique whatsoever. It is all thread. And so you see some of them, the blocks there. It's a Halloween theme, obviously. I have a few more blocks than that done, but when I took the picture, that's all I had up on the design wall. And now I've stripped all the stuff off the design wall so I could put Walter's blocks up so we could figure out which way they're supposed to go. And as I said, we'll talk more about that next week. So, how's your shirt going?
I haven't done anything to it.
Why? What have you been busy at?
Undoing
Undoing the patio?
the patio.
Yeah, we're getting ready to get rid of the old hot tub, and that means Walter has to take down the panels he put up many years ago. That
Yeah, we have a deck that's 12 feet off the ground, and underneath the deck there's spaces. There was a space set aside for a hot tub. So we did that, and I enclosed it with wooden panels and that, so it was more private underneath underneath the tub. But I didn't make it so it was the panels were removable, so I had to unscrew them all to because I guess in the day that we got the hot tub, we've decided we'll never get rid of it.
Yeah, that was 25, 26 years ago. So now we're getting rid of it. So in fact, tomorrow on the vlog on Monday Morning Coffee, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about my ideas for redesigning underneath the deck, and I'm going to be asking for help from some of you people, because when it comes to designing spaces, unless it's for storage, I'm not that great at it. So yeah, so that's what he's been busy at. And let's see, we went out for our long walk today, and my ankle's hurt now. I don't know why that is. That doesn't usually affect me when I do my regular walks. Maybe this walk was a little longer. My body's not used to it. I see Andrea says that she's been here before, but she's never been in the comment. Okay, so that's great. So you've graduated from looker to participant. That's always nice. Judy is here too, and she says good afternoon to everybody. And Elizabeth is here as well. Hope your weather's is fantastic. SARS is in Barrie. Yeah, it's a nice day today. It's you know, it's warm but not too hot. There's a slight breeze, no smoke in the air that we can smell, so that's been pretty good. Faith is here. Hi, Faith. Okay, so that's what we've been working on. Let's talk about coming events. Sewing with me Wednesdays as usual. Links in the show notes for that. All are welcome. Now, review of the past week's video content on Monday Morning Coffee with Stephen. Talked about birthdays and fires, not so much fun, and other things in there. Showed you how our gardens are growing. Garden looks really, well, it's not a garden. It's our deck container garden, I guess. We sat out there last night and had dinner al fresco. And it's just nice right now. It's so lush and green and everything. And I don't have pictures to show you today, but I will have pictures tomorrow on Monday Morning Coffee. And speaking of Monday Morning Coffee, this Monday, tomorrow, July the 27th, it is the last Monday of the month. So therefore, Monday Morning Coffee with Stephen is live. And that will start at 8 a.m. And the link for that, you don't need a link for it. All you need to do is go onto the channel. The splash screen is already up there, and just click on that and you'll be ready to go. It's not a Zoom, it's a YouTube live. So it's like this, except different, so to speak. So, and I look forward to your input. I think that's one of my videos I like doing the best, because I never know what direction it's going to take, and I really go off with whatever you guys have questions about or your comments about things, and we talk about all kinds of things on there. On Tuesday we had the Idiot Quilter, and I've started a new project, or at least showing you. I've already done the project. I did finish the project a couple of months ago, actually, but it's the African Safari Table Runner, and I take you through the process of sewing it all out, because it's an in the hoop design on my embroidery machine. And on So Chatty, as some of you have already commented, Walter, we had Walter show us his process. Okay, I don't usually have to put something at the beginning of any of my videos, but this one I felt compelled to, because everything that could go wrong went wrong. Thread breaks, bobbin weirdness. We even broke a needle at one point. And
I think that was my fault, because I put the bobbin in wrong. So
oh, well, that might do it. And the camera work sucks. So I did some editing, especially the parts where we were re-threading the needle and all that. No one needed to really sit around and watch that. So if you find it a little disjointed, that's why. But I did put that explanation at the beginning of it. But you got an example of the process, and that was the whole point of doing that. You know, instead of showing you perfection, And I mean, Walter's quilting, and many of you have commented on it. It's pretty darn good for the stage that he's at. Um, Better than I can do, and I even demoed that as I tried to do feathers in that video. Yeah, didn't work out too well for me. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, it's there. Check it out. Let's see. Teresa's here. Hi, Teresa. And Branca is here as well. She hopes, well, everything is well with everyone. So yeah, can't hear anybody complaining, but then again, I can't hear anybody. So no, little joke there, very little. Okay, so shall we have a drink? And let's turn to the segment we call Meanwhile in Canada. Oh, it's been fun, hasn't it? Just when you thought it was safe to open a bridge. Yeah, no, the orange pumpkin has to rear its ugly head. So, you know, we have the new Gordie Howe Bridge that they've been working on for years that goes across from Windsor to Detroit. International Bridge. I mean, there's one there already. Everybody knows that pretty much, the Ambassador Bridge. But it's owned by a private billionaire in the States, always has been. And he collects, you know, all the toll fees and everything from that. And also, the bridge is old. It takes a long time to go from one side to the other, especially for truck drivers that are, you know, delivering goods and everything like that. The new bridge, what?
Yeah, we took it a couple of years ago, and it to cross over, and it was a bit of an ordeal.
Yeah, it's not as much of an ordeal if you're just going like in your car, but the transport drivers, and there's many of those that go across on a daily basis, it really slows them down. Now the new bridge, because of the way they designed it, you basically don't go through the streets of Windsor to get to it. The old bridge, there were something like 14 sets of lights, traffic lights, to get to the bridge. This new one, there aren't any. And it ties right in from the I-95.
Yeah, and the bridge on the other side, in the Detroit side, doesn't really connect directly to the interstate.
Yeah.
You have to...
it's the I-95, I think.
I thought it was 75.
Is it 70? Oh, maybe it's 75.
Anyway, you had to... I last time we went, I got lost trying to find the turn off.
Yes, we were...
for the interstate, so...
Because there's cars coming out of it on the other side from every direction, and it's just like they're funneling down. But it's
but
bad.
Apparently the Gordie Howe Bridge has a direct connection to the interstate, and
direct connection to the 401.
Yeah,
you just right through. And I guess apparently I read something. They said that the average transport truck driver is going to save 15 minutes on a crossing. And that translates into dollars and cents for trucking companies and everything like that, and for speed of getting their goods where they're supposed to go and that. So it's a great thing. It cost a lot of money to build this bridge. It was funded by Canadians, by the Canadian government. Not a cent came from the United States, and we even hired Michigan steel workers to work on the side that goes into Michigan.
Yeah, because apparently the bridge was built, the half in Canada was built and the half in Michigan was built, and it met in the middle.
Met in the middle. In fact, I saw a picture the other day of the two foremen or whatever they are that when they got the link, when it linked up, they're there and shaking hands, and on the one side you have the American flag and the other one the Canadian. And you know, that picture is a great picture because that's the way things used to be. You know, we were friendly countries with each other in the whole bit and worked cooperatively. And so it was kind of interesting to see that picture given the time frame right now for that. But of course, that picture was taken a few months ago because the bridge right now is completely done. But the ugly orange pumpkin, he wants money from it, like he wants everything. I saw something today on 60 Minutes Australia. They were interviewing two American journalists who have put out a book called Regime, which is all about the way Trump has been running the government and everything like that. In fact, I just bought the book in ebook format earlier today. I'm going to start reading it tonight. It sounds very, very interesting. They've done a lot of research on it, and this is not the type of book. This is written from a serious journalistic point of view. It is not written from a scandal or from information that people speculate on or make up. In fact, these two reporters, while they were being interviewed about the book, the one person interviewing them was trying to get them to reveal where their sources were, and they said, we're not going to say. Because where we got our information, we're protecting that because we're protecting the people that gave us the information. But they said they could assure us that those people, if anybody found out who they were, because they're upper echelons of the government and work very closely with some of the Trump administrators and that kind of thing. And they said they don't want, because Trump has a tendency to punish people who do things he doesn't like. And mainly punish them by, basically ruining their political careers and stuff like that. But anyways, I'm kind of looking forward to reading this book, to hear all what's, maybe they can put some perspective on what this idiot's doing. But one of the things this idiot's doing, because of the bridge, they were supposed to open it a couple of months ago. No, he said he didn't want that. And of course, we being Canadians, our government and that, were trying to be nice, and they did make a deal. And you hear conflicting reports about the deal that Carney made, but I think it's a good deal. Yes, they're going to share the net profits or something. There's some wording in there that at first glance makes it sound like it's a 50-50 split. All the money that the bridge makes, half of it's going to go to Trump, to the American side, to the coffers of the American Treasury. But not quite. That's after the expenses. One of the expenses is the tolls. This bridge is being funded from toll charges, which is very common when you build a major infrastructure. Lots of toll roads down in the United States. We have a few up here. We have one big one in Canada. Well, it's not really, it is a toll road, but that money is just going into a private.
Yeah, because our stupid government sold
the
rights to the highway to a private company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that kind of thing. But there's also maintenance of the bridge. There's snow plowing of the bridge in the winter time and keeping it going and all that. So there's all kinds of operating costs. And they estimate that that bridge will not start to make any money for at least 5 or 6 years. And this deal that Carney has struck with Trump is for about 15 years. So half of that time, there's not going to be any money from it. But it seems to keep Trump happy, except that he has signed an executive order imposing 50% tariffs on over $20 billion worth of Canadian goods, said to take effect in 30 days if, why did he put this one on? What was this for? Oh, this was, what's the excuse he's using? Is this the one about,
no, it wasn't smoke fire. It wasn't fires.
Oh, it was for, it was fires.
No, this was
Or was it for
reason.
the child
because,
labor?
No, because Canada is supposedly not playing fair with dairy products, and liquor is off the shelves.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because we're not selling American liquor and that. Like, nah. But it sounds horrible. And it is. But the thing is, if the list of goods that this is going to go on, first of all, anything that's already in the Kuzma agreement, which, is still in effect, Trump says he's not going to make a deal about it and he's not going to renew it. Problem is, there's a timeline on it, and if they do not agree on it, it still is in effect for another 16 years. So, yeah. So he's just having a little tantrum. And like, okay, so how many of you out there buy hockey sticks on a regular basis? Because those are going to have a 50% tariff on them.
Apparently,
Woo!
there's something like 85, or I can't remember. There's lots of items on the list. Like 85% of them are not actually ones that we trade
Yeah.
the U.S. with.
No. So it sounds really bad, but it's really not bad. And it doesn't go to effect for 30 days. You know, because Trump's using it as a threat again, because that's the only thing he knows. His art of the deal is to threaten people. Well, you know, our prime minister is not easy to scare or to threaten. I mean,
And plus, he's put tariffs on goods from other countries up 10 to 12%.
oh yeah, he's up to everybody's.
However, they made deals with those countries months ago, and I guess he's breaking those deals.
Oh yeah, because that's what, yeah, the art of the broken deal is what his book should have been called, because that's all he does. You can't, no one trusts him. But anyways, it's just him having a little tantrum again as well, and we know it's always on and off. He puts these threats on, he puts a timeline on them, and then you get closer to when the timeline's up and suddenly something changes. And it's always him that changes. So, you know, what is he? Taco? What's that?
Trump
stamp?
always tacos out.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Always
Trump
back-
always
backs out or back. Chickens out.
Chickens out,
That's what the C is. Yeah. So, anyways, another thing though that he's targeting, of course, is because he thinks. I mean, we had the alcohol thing, but he's targeting plywood and clothing and paper products, and yes, hockey sticks as well. I don't know how much of our economy is dependent upon the manufacturing of hockey sticks. I don't think it's a big chunk of it, not even close. It's pretty much laughable. And and dairy. Okay, see, he's pissed off with the dairy, because we will not let American dairy into the country. Well,
we do allow a certain amount of American dairy.
Well, there's a cap.
But there's a cap.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want there to be a cap.
And
the only reason they're doing that is to protect our dairy industry.
Yeah, to protect our dairy farmers. So we're not doing anything.
Someone was detected at your front door.
Oh, that's my Amazon order. Thank you. Jeez. Anyways, where were we? Yeah. So there is the justification for this, is the official justification is White House officials stated the tariffs are a direct retaliation against Canadian provincial restrictions on American liquor, vehicle quotas, and dairy supply management. Well, as far as the vehicle quotas, you know, that one is, first of all, most cars from the big three producers are partially built in Canada, partially built in the United States, and then there's parts. And the parts go back and forth, and they are all part of the Kuzma agreement as well. So, yeah. He's just crazy. And then they have their U.S. demands over smoke, which are just laughable. He sparked political debate by threatening economic penalties, specifically due to wildfire smoke drifting into U.S. airspace. Like, what's he want? All of us to stand on the border with big fans and wave it back in to the country? It's not how airstreams work, you know? And he's claiming that Canadian smoke is poisoning in American air. He figured us out. That's been our plan since day one. Yeah, as I've always said before, we have plans to drop a huge dome over the entire United States and then suck all the oxygen out of it. So this is just phase one, people. You might want to get out your oxygen tanks and masks now. Like, come on. How ludicrous can you be? Something called global warming, you know, that's making everything really dry and burning up. And there's forest fires, I think, in Oregon and some places like that. And there's smoke because the air currents are drifting into other parts of the United States too, and even coming a little bit. I think they even come up across the border a little bit, out in the west too. Act of God, you know, we don't make wind like that. Although If Trump farts, that could be bad. Talk about your air pollution. Apparently he stinks. They say it's because he's wearing a diaper all the time. Ew. Okay. Now, how is our this whole thing with this alcohol? Okay. And we've had it off the shelves for over a year now. Yeah. It's a big hardship for those that make the alcohol down the States because 40% of their sales, we buy it, like Canadians buy it. So that stopped 40%, and I saw a figure, it's something like 750
Yeah, so actually
billion.
we were supposed to be one of the biggest um consumers of American alcohol.
Yeah, I don't know why shit. Especially the wine. Yeah, really. Ooh. But, I might be just a little bit biased towards Canadian products. So our premier, Doug Ford, who in himself I like to refer to as Trump in training or Little Trump because he's an asshole. However, he is defending the Canadian efforts, to keep the booze off the shelf. So I'll give him brownie points for that. That I think.
Yeah, the original reason the booze was taken off the shelf was that the United States put 50% tariffs on our aluminum and steel. And although the Americans pay the tariffs, the goal was to keep businesses from buying Canadian steel and aluminum, and getting manufacturers to make it more in the U.S.
Yeah.
So we're basically selling less to the U.S. than
But
we were before.
The businesses that are buying anything that come from our side of the border, they're paying these tariffs, and they have to pass their cost down, and like anything, it gets down to the consumer.
Yeah. So anyway, so as a retaliation, they took the alcohol off the shelves in our province, which our province is one of the biggest consumers of the alcohol, and a bunch of the other provinces did the same. There's 2 provinces that didn't, and they're
well, they only have 3 people living in them, and they're rednecks, so we'll say no more about that. But also about the forest fire business. Our premier, Doug Ford, Little Trump as we call him, he's defended our efforts by pointing out that the Canadian Armed Forces routinely assist the U.S. during its own fire emergencies, and a Canadian helicopter pilot that was there fighting the fires was killed in it too. So, we go down and help out the Americans when they're having their forest fires, and they have come up and helped us too. Again, I go back to that bridge picture. That's the way it should be. That's the way it has been for many, many years until Trump era. We worked together. We were cooperative. I mean, the rest of the world knew that we were friends, allies. We were good friends, And I said to Walter the other day, wouldn't it be nice if Canada and the United States, why we couldn't, if we were to work cooperatively together and in good faith and in harmony, North America could be the strongest continent in the world, economically, militarily, everything. We're the 2 countries together, just landmass alone and the natural resources is vast. But that's not going to happen. Pipe dream there. But of course, our premier, though, just when you think he's doing some good things, scandal raises its ugly head. He has publicly apologized and addressed a worsening hotel expense scandal involving individuals within his own provincial government. So there are MPPs, members of provincial parliament is what that stands for, who have been staying when their house is in session or they have committee meetings or something like that, have been staying in downtown Toronto because the Ontario legislature is located in Toronto. in hotels and racking up the money on dinners and hotel rooms. And some of these guys
live 5 miles away from the legislature.
yeah, they have homes in Toronto.
Yes.
So now the one guy who got caught, he had a bill of something like $16,000 in just hotel expenses, but apparently it came out that also started to materialize into about $120,000 for dinners and other kinds of things like this. So they got caught with their pants down. The premier had to do something. So this MPP, he's paying everything back out of his own personal pocket. He's paying it all back. And that's what our premier is saying, you know, all this, as if that makes it better. But one got caught. How many more are doing the same thing? Because you know he's not the only one. It's our tax dollars at work right there. I think he should have been kicked out. He should have been kicked out of the party.
No, he quit.
Oh, did he finally quit?
Yeah.
I thought he only quit from the cabinet.
Well, I'm not sure if he quit from the party or the cabinet. I'm not sure.
I don't know, one or the other. But either way, I think he should be tarred and feathered and dragged through the streets in a public display. Yeah, I think that would be great. Bring back the old way.
Well, he probably figured all the ones that were coming from Northern Ontario that have to stay in Toronto. He figured, oh well, they're getting a bonus I'm not getting.
Yeah. So yeah, so we have our problems with our politicians too. You know, it's corrupt.
Bruce Roberts said Starmer. I guess that's Britain's.
Yeah, that was the ex-prime
Responded
minister.
to the smoke complaints, pointed out that the efforts are making in Canada for address climate change, and Trump wants to bring coal back.
Yeah. Well, that's been brought up before. He wasn't the only one that said that. The other one said too, fossil fuels in the United States, Trump wants that all back. Well, that's one of the major polluters. So yeah, there's irony everywhere you look on these things. Just looking up here. So Ruth says, hi, everybody. It's been a while. Busy with summer fun. Okay. Teresa says the tolls for large trucks is supposed to be a lot less as well. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what those big trucks pay on the existing bridge and what they'll pay on the new and how you compare it, but who knows? I could see that they probably are, because those prices are dictated by basically a sole individual, the guy who owns that bridge, that one. Whereas our bridge is owned by the Canadian government. So it's not private. Inez is here. Hi, Inez. Shadowwind says, will we ever be good neighbors again in the future? That is a really good question. And that is one of the questions this reporter from Australia 60 Minutes was asking the two reporters who wrote the book called Regime, and said, you know, do you think it'll ever go back? And they basically said they didn't think so, because it's a new world order now. And Carney said, you know, the middle powers are the ones that are going to eventually, you know, it's going to be their day. And he's proving that fact by making deals all around the world for our country outside of and shutting out the Trump administration. So will we? From a personal point of view, as I've said before, I do not hate American people, the average citizen, except to say you did something very foolish. And I know you're going to say, well, I didn't vote for Trump. But needless to be, you were part of a climate that allowed for him to become part of the administration. So, you know, but don't hate the average American. You're suffering too. However, will our relationship go back? I don't think so, because we basically can't trust the American administration. Trump's proven that over. And it's not just with Canadians. He's done this with other places in the world too. So, yeah.
I mean, I think then you'd be more wary in the future about anybody that comes into power.
Yeah, I think so. So who knows? Only time is going to tell. So what was it with Stan? Oh, you did that one. Barb says Canada's always been allies with the U.S. and Trump showed up. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, yeah, we've had our differences, like any, you know, friends, but we've always been friendly. I mean, we used to boast we have the longest border between two countries, in undefended border in the world. Well, that's going to change, isn't it? That's what we're going to hear next. I have a feeling Trump's going to start trying to crack down on the border crossings. Maybe he'll build a wall. I say go for it. Yeah. Still like the bubble idea and suck out of the oxygen, though. I think it's more efficient. Oh, Jen's here. Hi, Jen. And Adam's here. He says, hi, boys. Sorry I'm late. Got distracted. Slaps wrist. I think we slap your face. Ruth says, Vance got caught using a military helicopter to transport his son to private golf lesson. Good use of taxpayer money during an economic crisis. Yeah, but you want to know something? Again, this happens on our side, too. Abuse of, your power and the taxpayers' money. It happens all the time. Randy's here, and I imagine Sue as well. Hello, Randy and Sue. So, anyways, that was the news this week. Yeah, just when you thought it was safe out there, and then who knows what next week will bring. I don't think the news has ever been more interesting than it has been since Trump's been in power. If anything, you wait to see what next crackpot thing he does. And that's why I want to read this book, because I think it's going to shed a lot of light on a lot of issues and a lot of ones that maybe the average person isn't really aware of, because we get a limited view of things from the media. They always go for those things that are going to attract the biggest audience, because it is a business, journalism. So it'll be interesting to read this book. I am not going to believe every word that's written in that book, because it's still written by journalists, and journalists have still put a spin on things. But if they're good writers, they can make anything sound convincing. But I have a feeling it'll be a little closer to the real story than maybe what we hear on the usual news channels. We shall see. So, meanwhile, here at home, well, Walter's already talked about, he's been preparing the patio for the hot tub removal. It's a little sad. Walters has a little tear in his eye over the hot tub. We had many...
Yeah, I know, because I've maintained it all these years.
Yes,
so.
You worked hard to keep it nice and crystal clear. No one could ever complain about the water in our hot tub. It was absolutely pristine. We had a lot of fun with it when we were younger, And yeah, it is kind of sad to see it go, but we have not seriously used it in about 3 years. If it might be even longer than that. I don't know. You stick your toe in, you sit down, you have a glass of wine. Okay, I'm bored. Let's go.
Well, it does leak too, so it doesn't help.
Well, yeah, that's a problem too. Sherry's here. Hi, Sherry.
It's been leaking for... we've had it repaired about 4 times.
Yeah, over the process of years.
The first time it got repaired, that was a long time ago, and it held. But the last few repairs we've had done, it doesn't take long before it spring a leak again.
Yeah, so it's done its time. We've got our money's worth out of it, and yeah, now it's kind of a death trap too. We're not young guys anymore, so in the wintertime, mind the ice. Walter knows that firsthand. A few years ago, he wrecked himself and is still paying for that.
And ended up in the hospital.
Yeah, and had to have an operation on his leg. What was it? You severed your
my patellar tendon. It's the thing that it's the tendon that holds your kneecap to your shin.
Oh, I thought that was one half of a magic act in Las Vegas. Teller. Oh, well, whatever. Yeah.
So I couldn't stand and walk or do anything.
No, he couldn't. That was not a fun time, because I'd come home from school.
It took me about a year before I started walking regular again. So.
Yep. And of course, you got a blood clot.
Yeah, and then I got a blood clot, and then that had to be taken care of. Then I got resolved for about 13 months, and then I got a second blood clot.
Yeah,
but then that's it. I haven't had any blood clots since. So,
and he wasn't very mobile around the house, and he was off work. I'd come home from school. I discovered the wonderful world of cooking with Campbell's soup.
Yeah, after the operation, I was not allowed to bend my leg for 6 weeks.
Mm, and then he was talking to my father one day on the phone, and I don't know why you were talking to my father on the phone.
No, wasn't talking to your dad. Your parents came over one day, and you were it was for a birthday or something,
Oh.
or I can't remember for what. And you were cooking, and you were in the kitchen. I couldn't move, right? I was
Yes,
still
we were immobile.
immobile. And your dad said, "Oh, is he a prick
Like his mother.
like his mother?"
At that point, I should have reached for the rat poison and stuck it in their food. But, yeah. Nice father I had. Well, he's dead. Yeah. Okay.
Well, we've found out what the wrath of your mother was like.
Yes.
Later on.
Well, yeah, that was the saving grace from my father's comment. Just didn't compare me to my mother. But don't you say anything more.
Getting rid of your hot tub is like kissing your youth goodbye.
Yeah, it is kind of.
Well, we built the deck to house the hot tub underneath many years ago, and sort of planned to have that all around to have it because we had one in our old house, and so it was always there. So
Yeah.
So now
It's a
now
new
we're
era.
getting rid of.
Now the new dilemma is after we see what kind of condition the interlocking brick is underneath it, because
Yeah.
we know it has shifted, and what we're going to do about that, whether we can fix it ourselves, and when I say we, I mean Walter, and or whether we need to hire professional landscapers to come in and reset the bricks, because it'll probably need like the fill and stuff underneath it, and so one thing leads to another. And yeah, and then what are we going to do with that space? So that's what I'm going to talk about tomorrow on the I need your ideas for it. I've started a design board sort of a thing for it, of ideas. Unfortunately, I'm finding that if you have the idea of creating an outdoor living room, it's going to cost you as much, if not more, than your living room in your house. So yeah, that's not going to happen that way. So, anyways, first world problems, really. Barb says, read that. And okay. So, today, if you ever were in the car with Walter and I when we're going somewhere, we are constantly, look at that effing asshole. What's he think he's doing? What's over? Like, how the hell? What a jerk. What? Like, we're constantly cursing and swearing all the other drivers around us, and they do stupid things. One of our popular little expressions is, where'd they get their driver's license? From Crappy Tire? That's Canadian Tire. You've heard me talk about it before. And no, you cannot get your license from Canadian Tire, but it's the joke means,
Or,
like what kind
from
of train?
the old term was from a Cracker Jack box.
Yeah, get your license from a Cracker Jack box, whatever. But it's getting worse. And I got thinking about this.
I mean, it seems to be like hit and miss whether somebody uses their turn signal.
Oh, yeah, that's just one of the minor things. They do all kinds of stupid things. So I decided to go online, as I do, and I wondered, is it just our perception? Or are people getting worse at driving? And guess what I found? I put in, is driving your car more dangerous than ever? And this is what it came back with. Yes, car drivers are statistically and observably getting worse. Data from traffic safety organizations, premium insurance reports, and behavioral studies confirm that dangerous driving habits have spiked significantly over the last several years. While vehicle technology has improved, human behavior behind the wheel has deteriorated. The primary factors driving this decline fall into several distinct categories. So, I want to see whether or not I agreed with this from our own personal observations. And they're saying that rising traffic fatalities, Data from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, this is an American organization, indicates that deadly accidents in the U.S. jumped by more than 16% over a recent 4-year baseline. Well, that's not surprising. I think we told you the story about Walter's little accident that totaled his car. If not, if you've not heard it before, what happened, Walter?
I was driving north on a major street in Oshawa, in the city we live in, and out of the blue came this car crossing the street, which hit me in the driver's side at a fairly substantial rate
quite
of
substantial.
speed. What happened was she was it was a woman. It was an 80-year-old woman. She was standing at a street corner that had a stop sign on the side, waiting to cross the road. And actually, this road should have at that point have a stoplight in that area.
Yes.
But she was, because it was a 4-lane road. And she couldn't see the oncoming traffic because there was a car next to her trying to turn right. And she couldn't see past the car for the oncoming traffic. So since she couldn't see the oncoming traffic, she decided to take her chances and gun it across the road.
Yeah, that's a quote. I just thought I'd take my chances and I just gunned it across.
She put her foot on the metal and pressed it to the ground and gunned it across and take her chances.
And it's a wonder Walter hadn't been hurt, because
my airbag went off.
The airbag went off, but when you saw the side of the car, the driver's side, the wheel was bent like in half.
Yeah, well, she actually, I think, hit more the wheel and the very beginning of where I was sitting.
But the car was totaled. So
Yeah.
I got down there because my phone went off. Actually, it was my watch went off and says, Walter has been in an accident.
Yeah, well, what happened is I had an iPhone 4. I had
Not a 4.
no, I had a newer iPhone, and that iPhone was equipped with impact detection. So it actually called 911 automatically.
Yeah. And it called me to let me know he'd been in an accident. Well, I'm panicking.
Yeah, because you're my emergency contact.
Yeah, and I didn't know. I phoned him, and he picked up the phone. And I said, are you all right? And he says, yeah, he's okay, but the car's been totaled. And I said, where are you? He said, at the Costco on Ritson Road. My brain thought about the Costco we usually go to, which is just slightly north of us.
It's on Simcoe.
Yeah, but my brain wasn't functioning, and I jumped in the car, and I ripped up there and almost got to the Costco quite a ways away from where he had the accident and everything, and I went, oh, shit, that's not the Costco. He said Ritson Road, this is Simcoe Street. So I turned around, and I batted it down there, and I could see the emergency vehicles, and I couldn't really see his car. So I parked in the Costco parking lot, which is across the street, and I got out and I go walking down there, and then I could see his car and everything. And I went, oh my God. And so I get over there, and by then the tow truck was there to take away the pieces and everything. And he was talking to the cop. Well, the old lady that hit him, she wasn't hurt either. And her car was a boat of a car. And I mean, it was damaged somewhat, but nowhere as much as Walter's. And I'm talking to her, and she goes, well, I just had that car all tuned up, and I just done my driver's test again, because she had just turned 80 or something, and so you have to go and take whatever. It's not much of a test, obviously, and she passed that, I assume, and everything, but she didn't seem to be too concerned.
Yeah, not only that, she was standing on the side of the other side of my car that wasn't hit. Looks at it and she says, well, that doesn't look like
That don't look too bad.
That doesn't look too bad. You can probably just drive that away.
And then
I said to her, that's not the hot side that was hit. What's the other side? So she goes looking over to the other side and she goes, oh my, did I do that?
No, it was somebody else. You just happen to be blamed for it. But I mean, the whole point of this, of telling you this, is because that was a stupid move on her part. She wasn't having a medical incident. She'd been cleared to drive. She even had her car all tuned up, but she turned around and she said it to the cops too. Well, I couldn't see anything, so I just thought I'd take my chances and I put the pedal to the
Yeah,
metal.
and then she got charged with careless driving. And she kept saying to the police, but I couldn't see anything, so why am I getting charged?
Like, really. But a lot of the accidents that are out there are caused by people doing stupid things. And a lot of the time is too, people are rushing around. They're always in a rush. I mean, you can be doing the speed limit and there's a guy behind you and he's right on your bumper. And the next thing you know, they pull out when they're not even supposed to. They're not legally supposed to pass in that part to zoom ahead of you.
Yeah, or I could even be doing more than the speed limit, and they still do the same thing.
And still not fast enough because everybody's so impatient.
And they're in a rush. They're all in a rush to get somewhere. And
Yeah.
what I always think is funny is when somebody speeds by me, tries to go around me and speeds by me, and then they end up stopping at the next stoplight anyway.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, haha. Where'd that get you? Let's see here. Teresa says, Walter, it sucks when the warranty on your body part expires, and she's got new everything, so she's good for another 50,000 years. Ruth says many school districts have eliminated driver's education. Add to that all the gadgets and screens in the new cars, and add to that cell phones. Yeah, I didn't know if they eliminated driver's education or not here because it's been a while since I've been in the school system to know. But yeah, we have graduated licenses, and I think they do in the States too, where once the kid has got their first level of the driver's license, they are not allowed for a year or something to drive without a licensed driver, like an older person with them. And they're limited to how many people they can have in the car at one time. And it's zero tolerance on any kind of substance. Like if they get...
Hey, do they do that with new people that move over here from overseas too?
Apparently not, because a lot of those ones don't have driver's license either. And they drive like they're over there. And yeah, and that causes a lot of problems. That's not to say that immigrants are lousy drivers. Just some of them are. Let's see, what else has been said here? Barb says, at what age for seniors do you have to complete a driver's test again to be able to drive in Ontario? I think it's 80.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's at 80, yeah. Oh, okay, should remind you, just answer my question. Barb says that will buff out. Yeah, right. Rachel says, guy drove into the back of me in a car park, moved my car. He just drove on. I got out and followed him, said, you just hit me. He said, oh, did I? He hadn't noticed. I said, maybe time to stop driving. Yeah, he probably noticed. He just figured he was trying to get away. And that's what you hear a lot of too.
Yeah, well,
runs.
There was one very older gentleman that lived around the corner from here, from where we live, and in our subdivision, and he backed out. Were you in the car with me?
Yeah, when we saw that.
Yeah,
he backed
into a parked car
across the street from his house.
The street, and
legally parked.
Yeah, and kept going merrily on his own way. And I took down his license plate and actually went to the guy who owned the car.
Yeah.
Or did I call the cops? I think I called the cops.
I think you called the cops and gave them the information. Yeah. The cops did show up on our doorstep just to check with us and that.
Yeah.
They actually thanked us.
Yeah.
But apparently this wasn't the first time this guy had done this to the same neighbor. He had done it before.
Yeah.
Too. So, yeah. So we didn't really feel bad about reporting his license to the cops.
Yeah, I don't think he should have been driving.
No. But he wasn't. Well, did we ever see him?
Apparently his wife didn't want him to drive.
Oh, that's right.
But he had a tendency to go out without her knowing.
Yeah. Adam says, I had a lady today in crawling traffic. Every time I moved forward, she floored the accelerator and that hammered her brakes. I said to Darren, she's going to hit us in a minute. Luckily, she didn't. Yeah, those ones who have to be like, I mean, am I wrong? When I was taught how to drive, the rule book said you were supposed to have one car length for every 10 kilometers distance. So if you're driving at 30 kilometers, you need to have 30 one car length for every 10. So 3 car lengths between you and the car ahead of you. And if you're going at a higher speed, it should be further, because it takes you longer for the car to, when you screech on the brakes, to stop. It doesn't stop on a dime. They keep going with it. So I don't know. People don't seem to go by that rule though. Teresa says the lady probably lost her license now that she's had an accident. The 80-year-old test is a written test, very similar to Trump's cognitive test. If you can draw the face of a clock, you can pass. Yeah, I've seen the test, and it's just a cognitive test. It's more like they're checking you for Alzheimer's than they are for your driving ability with it. I think that, I mean, of course.
Well, I think that's the whole idea. If you've got dementia, you shouldn't be driving.
Well, no. Of course, you'll never remember you had an accident. But, new people. Adam says, I'm sure there's a box of cereal with driver's licenses as free gifts for some people. Oh, yeah.
Well, we had heard that there are some places giving driving tests.
Oh, yeah.
You could go in and pay for a driving test.
Well, yeah, and they were doing that with truck drivers, too.
Yeah.
And so, like, especially for new people, new immigrants coming into our country, they can go to these shady little organizations that will sit them down. They fill out a form. They take $150 or $200 or something like that, or whatever, and they sign you over. Here you go. You're certified to drive a transport truck. Yeah. Oh, and I love these cars, speaking about transport trucks, on like a major, many multi-lane highway that are doing, like, the trucks are doing 100 kilometers an hour, and there's some stupid little car that those trucks aren't going fast enough, and it weaves its way in and out of a whole bunch of trucks back and forth, and they're this far away. The trucks can't stop. If there is something they have to stop for suddenly, well, you might as well say goodbye, because you're going to be an accordion between two big transport trucks. I don't like to be driving too close to a transport truck, because also people drive in their blind spots. They can't see either. And there's a lot more of them than you, and they've got to get it over into another lane when they make a lane change. And there'll be some asshole in a car who won't bother to slow down or move over to another lane over if they can or whatnot. It's almost like, I'm daring you to hit me. Not a good dare. That's when you'll probably lose, for sure. That's just like, that's a death wish. Barb says, I was taught when you stop behind a vehicle, you should be able to see the complete tires of the vehicle ahead of you. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Randy says, I hate driving the city of Toronto. No patience anymore for the idiots out there. Avoid Toronto as much as possible.
Oh, you missed
what?
You missed Ruth Roberts. I hope I'm popular with my kids, but whatever. And then our neighbor on the weekend, Adam Sills.
Okay, I don't know what you just said. Because
you went down here instead of here.
So I hope I am cooperative if, when my kids ask for me to turn over my keys, lots of boomers out there. Yeah, we don't have kids, so we can hang on to our keys. Yeah, I don't like driving. I've always been kind of a nervous driver. I don't like driving with other people in the car with me because there's too many distractions. And like what Randy says about driving in Toronto, we don't drive in Toronto. If we go into Toronto now, we take the GO train.
Well, sometimes if we go over
okay, contradict me on this. You just go right ahead. Well, okay, what did I say wrong?
I will
Correct
drive in
me.
Toronto if I have to.
He is one of these ones that'll be like 90 years old and won't give me the keys.
Yeah, well.
Because, he's great. Okay, we'll keep that in mind. All right.
Okay. You just missed Adam's thing.
About Fruit Loops.
No, the one before that.
You're awfully demanding. Our neighbor the weekend before last, brand new car. She had it 6 days, got her foot stuck under the brake pedal, floored it in reverse, and went straight through next door's wall, skimmed our house. Okay, that would be fun on so many different levels. Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, Toronto, driving in this downtown city of Toronto. Well, first of all, you can't go very fast downtown Toronto because everything's under construction. So maybe that's a good thing.
And it's very congested.
And then the pedestrians. It's like traffic lights are just a suggestion these days, even for pedestrians, because like this is one thing we didn't see in Japan. In Japan, when you were at a pedestrian walkway across a road, a busy road, when the light was red, you stop. Nobody tried to jaywalk, even if there was not a car in sight for miles, in either direction. They stood there and waited till it turned green. In Toronto, red is just a suggestion. You know, you look sort of both ways and you run like hell. Or some of them don't even run. Some of them, it's like, excuse me, I'm walking here.
They're too busy looking at their phones, so they don't have any time. And one thing I noticed with people that are looking at their phones, especially young people, a lot of them will just walk off the curb without looking to see what's coming.
Yeah. And then I'm never sure. So you have to prove who's at fault there. Was it the pedestrian or was it the car? Because the rules of the road say that you are supposed to be much more careful with anything that is less your size. So like someone on a bicycle, a pedestrian. And then of course you got the e-bikes and everything, and they just zip those things in traffic, up on the sidewalk and all that. Even these ones, they've got these little dinky motorized, they're basically a wheelchair with a little cover over it. And they run it with it like a joystick, or sometimes there's little grips like on a motorcycle. And they go like, they're lickety splitting down the middle of the road at a great pace of about 30 kilometers an hour. Wow. Not a care in the world. Look at me, I'm mobile. Maybe not for much longer with it. Elizabeth says, I'm 91 and renewed my license with no problem. I'd the written and the interview. I'd the written and the interview. Okay, if I gave you a test in English grammar right now, you wouldn't have passed with me. When I drive, I'm horrified at what I see when I'm out there. What people amazes me. Kim, appalled at what they do. Elizabeth, tip. Don't drink. Don't drink and write. Okay? I'm joking with you, Elizabeth. I get your point. Yeah. Rachel says, we have markings on some roads with notice to leave 2 chevrons between cars. If I do that, invariably people nip in. Never leave a gap. Yeah, I've seen the chevrons on the roads in some places. Not so popular here, but we've been in other places. Like I think in Australia they had something like that. Didn't they?
I can't remember.
There was someplace we were. Barb says there was a semi-truck that was driven by an immigrant that went through a stop sign in Humboldt, Saskatchewan. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And yeah, he might have been one of those ones that paid for the license. They never came out and said what that was, but yeah, that was a horrible tragedy. Rachel says, my daughter used to live in the sticks. There were always cars in the ditches. Yeah. Well, you find
I've
that.
never heard that. I haven't heard people call it the sticks lately.
The sticks. Yeah. Rural areas.
Yeah.
Teresa says, here's a hot topic. Laugh out. How to merge. Oh, I know. People get onto the on-ramp to get onto a major highway here, like the 401, which in some spots, the 401 is over 20 lanes. You know, it is the busiest highway in all of North America. And put, 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 put. That's an
Yeah,
acceleration lane.
Yeah, they don't accelerate to merge into traffic
You're supposed to
when they get on.
match your speed with oncoming with the traffic and merge in when it's clear at that same pace. And then some of them think that, oh, I'll leave it to the last minute. I've got lots of lane here. And you're there and you're driving and you can't get over out of their way and they're beside you and you know, well, I can't get over. What are you going to do? And they either step on the gas and rip it up way ahead of you and try to get it, or they put on their brakes and the people behind them all have to screech on their brakes too because they can't get in. Like, plan, people, plan. There's a stretch of road. It's not a major highway. It's just a street. But near our place, it's off a major intersection. And the lane, there are 2 lanes on the one side of the intersection. But when you get across the intersection, the lane furthest to the right disappears because it's meant as a turning lane to go into the little plaza that's there. And every time, if you're in the left lane, the straight through lane, you've got to watch these assholes that come up on your side because are they going to turn into the plaza or are they just going to keep on going and then try to force their way into you and there's no place for you to go. You always have to be aware of what's happening in that one.
Yeah, people turn on their signals way ahead of time for a turn.
Mm-hmm.
And then they pass you, they still have their signal.
And they still have the signal light on. So let's play.
Or they don't have a signal light
Yeah.
on and
you
you
don't
don't
know.
know what they're doing.
It's sort of like, let's spin the big wheel and decide, are they going to go right? Are they going to go left? Are they going to go straight ahead? Which way are you going to go? Like, stop keeping us guessing. This isn't a mystery novel here. We'd like to know up front what you're going to do. Let's see here. Adam says, I sent you a picture, Stephen, of the damage to see later. If she hadn't had her steering on full lock, she would have been in our kitchen. Whoa. How do you feel about a picture window? There. Well, you've been complaining that it's been hot over in England. You get a little extra ventilation then, wouldn't you? Shadowwind says, I'm not far from 80 years. My car has bells and whistles, and when I drive, they are turned on or turn on. Yeah. Yeah, but that can be a distraction too. There's so much going on. Someone said earlier, like, the new cars all have a screen, right? And it tells you everything, like about this, that, and the other thing, and all kinds of information you don't need to know. And it's very easy to be distracted by that. I'm glad my car doesn't have any of that because my car's 18 years old. So, air conditioning in my car's rolled down the window.
People that drive for 4 miles with a turn signal on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're very attentive to their driving.
Yeah, true. So other things that were stated here too, and I think many of them we may have already just covered. They talked though about everything gets blamed on the pandemic, right? It says the post-pandemic shift. Traffic analysts note that the COVID-19 pandemic served as a permanent turning point. Deadly habits formed on empty lockdown roads like extreme speeding and driving unbelted, normalized and never truly reversed. Pre-pandemic speeding was tied to 30% of fatal crashes. That number rose to 38% in the years following. So again, the pandemic is to blame for everything that happens in our world. And now we were just talking about this, the raising distraction and screen addiction, constant phone use. In a comprehensive nationwide survey, nearly 9 in 10 drivers reported seeing an increase of phone use behind the wheel. Well, we have signs and things. It's against the law to use your phone. It has to be a hands-free device, and that's and we have signs on the sides of our roads about that. And I go to Walter as we pass when I put my hands in the air and go, look, I'm hands-free, yay, with it. But seriously, but you still see them do it. They'll balance it on their steering wheel. Or of course, now with the modern cars, if you have an iPhone or other phones too, I guess they'll tie in automatically with the screen. So if somebody calls you, you can use voice commands and everything like that and carry on with your conversation. In my way of thinking, that's still a form of
Yeah,
distraction
well,
too.
because I always throws me off of my phone rings. My phone rarely rings, and then I can't remember which button to push.
And gets all flustered. But you see, you're distracted for a moment. And that is a problem. Social media and video distraction has evolved past simple texting. Drivers, particularly younger generations, increasingly admit to checking social media, browsing apps, and even video chatting while actively operating a vehicle. Yeah, because the younger generations are, they're born with a cell phone in their hand.
I remember years ago, somebody getting caught on the in stop and go traffic reading a newspaper.
Oh, well, there you go. There's old school distraction. Complex infotainment. Modern dashboard screens require drivers to look away from the road for multiple seconds to change basic cabin settings, contributing heavily to recognition errors or changing what you're listening to or anything like that. You're supposed to be able to do all that stuff with voice commands. But if in our car's case, in Walter's car, Siri is not very obedient because he'll have an argument with it. He'll go, Siri, navigate to such and such address. Okay, what's happening over here?
You just told
I
Siri to
Siri,
do
whatever.
something.
Okay, go away. So you get distracted when you're arguing with the AI on there, back and forth. And it only takes a second before, the car in front of you suddenly slowed down and you didn't. So you have new friends sitting right beside you. Hi. What's that big white thing you're wearing all around you? Oh, they went off. Oh, okay. Then they talk about behavioral degradation and stress, increased road rage. Oh, yeah. These are things that YouTube videos are made of, right? 2/3 of drivers report frequently witnessing aggressive driving and road rage. Yeah, somebody cut somebody off. Whether
Yeah, it
on
happened
purpose.
not too long ago. Remember, we were behind somebody and there was a car ran up next to them and they unrolled the window and their hand came out and they were going and yelling at them, and they were speeding up, getting behind this person several times.
And
almost
intimidating
them, yeah.
Well, then there's the other part too, that people, if you're in a lane, the outside lane, or is that the inside lane? Outside lane is speed limit, people claim. The next lane over is 10 kilometers faster. The next lane over is 20 kilometers faster. No. The lane closest to the left is meant for passing and coming back in. But they're the ones who want to drive in that lane all the time. And if somebody's ahead of them that's not doing 160 kilometers an hour, they're right on their tail. And it's called pushing. And you may have seen it sometimes on big transport trucks.
160 kilometers an hour.
I know that's not what the speed limit is. I was making an exaggerated point that it was faster. God, you're slow. Somebody hit him with a car. With it. Now you took me off my train of thought.
130 maybe.
I've seen them going faster than that, and you have too. But the point I'm making is, screw the numbers, okay, on this, is the fact that they're pushing. They're right up against the other car.
And they start flashing their lights and stuff like that.
Because they want to be ahead of them.
Yeah.
And you'll see transport trucks with a sticker on the back of them, some that says, don't push. Yeah. It's probably not a good idea to try and push a transport truck with that. But where is it that you have to get to? What is your wife having a baby? There's nobody else in the car with you. What's that all about? Really? Plan
People
ahead.
are always in a rush.
Yeah, they're all in a rush. And that leads to aggressive driving, which leads to accidents. And then something called main character syndrome. Commuters and commercial drivers report a sharp decline in empathy and cooperative driving habits, such as letting people merge or maintaining proper lane discipline. Societal stress, anxiety, and a feeling of constant rushing have caused drivers to become far more reckless, like we were saying. So basically, people aren't very nice on the roads. They see that there's somebody wants to get into that lane. Is it going to kill them? Well, it will if they hit them. To let somebody in. We're all going in the same direction here. You're not going to get to your spot. What? You're going to get there 2 seconds earlier than the other one, the car you let in? Yeah. Lack of traffic enforcement. This is a good one. On a cultural level, many drivers report a noticeable decline in active police traffic stops. The perception that bad behavior will not be penalized has emboldened drivers to run red lights, ignore stop signs, and more frequently. Yeah, supposedly we have, and many places do, red light cameras. If you run a red light, then the camera captures you and it reads your license plate and you get a ticket in the mail for this. Well, that doesn't seem to deter anybody. And then our government, our Ontario government, they decided to remove, in the city of Toronto, red light cameras.
No, there were cameras in. I thought that was the cameras
speeding
for
cameras.
speeding
Yeah, I guess
cameras
they're
at
not there.
schools.
Yeah. Well, in other spots too.
Oh, okay.
In high traffic areas. Yeah, those are regular cameras. But they decided to remove them because they were a waste of money. In fact,
plus their MPPs were getting caught.
yeah, the MPPs were getting caught.
The people that in the government were getting caught, and they were getting too many tickets.
Yeah. But the other problem is too, there used to see cops out with speed traps.
Yeah, I know. Like a lady, I was saying the other day, the lady that I used to work with, she came into work one day and got a ticket because she didn't stop completely at a stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
And that you don't seem to hear. You see people doing that all the time, but there's nobody there to nail you.
Well, it's human nature. If you can get away with something without being penalized, you tend to push the envelope and try to get away with it again and again and again. It's repeated bad behavior, which becomes routine. If you're not going to get your wrist slapped for it or worse, then they're going to do it. And then they talk about the structural and environmental factors. Vehicle size and power. Modern SUVs and trucks are taller, heavier, and feature incredibly fast acceleration. These massive profiles severely block visibility for other commuters and make collisions exponentially more lethal, especially for pedestrians and cyclists. I hate SUVs, big ones. You can't see over them or around them at all. If you're sitting at an intersection and it's multiple lanes, and you're trying to, if it doesn't have lights, say it's a four-way stop or something like that, well, first of all, you can't trust a four-way stop that everybody's going to stop when they're supposed to. And then it's a question of who gets to go first. The car on your right. Whoever got to the stop sign first has the right of way, and and when in doubt, it's to your right. The car on your right gets the right of way for it. That's what I was taught when I was learning how to drive. Well, now, no, it's kind of like a game of chicken. But
yeah,
if you
I know.
can't
And then
see,
I've seen people go when two cars go through at the same time
yeah,
because they seem to think that they can both go at
yeah,
the
they
same
can
time.
both go at the same time. What the heck? 2 for 1. Yeah, no, it's one at a time. But the bigger trucks and the bigger cars, you can't see around them clearly. And some of them will stop and they'll be over the line. If there's a line, that says, okay, you're supposed to stop before the line. Well, you'll see some halfway into the intersection.
And then you just have to step on it and gun it.
And just gun it. Yeah, right. That's a surefire way of, getting through these things. And then they say safety feature compliancy. Advanced driver assistance systems like lane keep assistance and automatic braking can inadvertently cause drivers to become overly complacent or pay less attention, falsely assuming the car will save them from a mistake. And with those self-driving cars, now, they're always improving them, but they're kind of scary, and they do come with a warning saying, you are responsible. You should have your hands on the wheel. Don't trust the AI. But there are people who do. I've never been in
And
one of
have
those cars.
lost their lives
Yeah.
finding out that it doesn't work, or have killed other people.
Well, that's the thing. If you don't care about yourself, that's one thing. But, keep in mind there's other people out there that might want to get home in one piece. So let's just back up here and see. Comments have been flying through. Da, da, da. Oh yeah, Ruth says, I love it when people drive for miles with a turn signal on. Or the ones who have their four ways on. So you don't know, is there an emergency? That's why they have their four ways on. Because technically you were not supposed to drive your car. It's against the law to drive your car with your four ways on. You put the four ways on to indicate that you're in distress and you're off to the side of the road. But I've seen people driving with four ways on. For what reason? I don't know. You never know. Like, is there a problem or isn't there a problem? Randy says, what is scary is people taking a nap in their Tesla car that is self-driving on the highway. Yeah, you see things about that on YouTube and on the news all the time, which, yeah, really? I don't think so. Rachel says the amount of people drink and drug driving has increased dramatically. Police did a roadside stop on one day recently on one single road, and there was 54 people over the drug limit. Scary. Yeah, and you would think people would get the message. I mean, here, at least in our province, there are commercials on TV all the time about, drinking under the influence or driving under the influence, whether it be alcohol or drugs, principally because marijuana is legal here, right? And that kind of thing. And yeah, it impairs your ability to judge what you're supposed to be doing. Oh, Judy says she likes your shirt, Walter.
Thanks. It's actually an older shirt. It's before I did pattern matching. So.
And Candace says, can't see around big tractor trucks either, or the red light overhead. Yeah. That's very true. Ruth says she resists technology in her car, but once I start using it, I depend on it. The risk is over dependence and not using my own eyes, ears, and brain. Yeah, I think that's true about that. So anyways, I don't know. What can we do about this? Well, I think one, it starts with proper driver training. And as someone said earlier, they thought that they had gotten rid of that out of the schools. And yeah, I think, and even when you get to a certain age, I think you need to take a comprehensive test. Not just, can you show where the two hands on a clock go to represent 2 o'clock? I mean, shouldn't somebody already know they're having cognitive impairment before that happens? I don't know.
What do they do with the modern generation that can't read a clock?
That's true. I don't know how they do that. That's a good question, because the kids today don't understand an analog clock. Well, whatever. And I think so. Education, I think, is one of it. I think we need more law enforcement and make the fines greater with this, because people tend to ignore tickets. In fact, some people are very proud that they have a glove compartment full of tickets that they've never paid. So
yeah, a guy I used to work with would save up all his parking tickets for a year, pay it all at once.
Like, that's an attitude and not a positive one for that kind of thing, is what that shows. Okay, so yeah, there we are. I hope we're all, I for one don't like to drive, and that's why my car is almost 20 years old, still runs like a charm, just doesn't have any of the buzzers and bells on it because it came out before there were those buzzers and bells. And my chauffeur takes me everywhere, except I do tend to watch for things as he's driving too. And at the risk of being screamed at while we're on the road, I figure it's worth being screamed at if we make sure, because there have been a few times when I didn't see that. No, I know you didn't see that. Let me out. Let me out now.
Actually, this car is better than my old car because I can see around you better on that in this car than I can. On my
Oh,
old
so
car.
it's my fault.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I
what are
couldn't
you
see
saying? I
your
got
head,
a fat head?
Your head was blocking.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever. Okay, just to wrap things up here to see, is there some more comments? Teresa says, what about when someone waves a car through a lane of stop traffic right into an active lane? I lost my soccer mom van to being the one in the active lane. Lost my soccer mom van to being hit.
Yeah, actually, I had an accident like that when I was with my first car. There was a lane of stop traffic, and I was on the inside going north, and somebody had waved a person coming out of a parking lot through, and they all of a sudden I had this car appear in front of me, and I couldn't stop.
Yeah. I do not trust anybody that waves
So
you through.
ever since that happened, anytime there's a lane of cars or whatever, I'm always very careful of what's beyond that because I've seen so many accidents happen.
And these people think they're being helpful.
Yeah.
No, stop it. Stop it. Don't do that because you're just, it's, you may think you're helping somebody else. How are you going to feel when that person gets into an accident because they, oops, you didn't see this thing coming. So yeah, just stop it. If you're one of those people that like to wave people on or whatever, stop it. Stop it. You're not helping anybody. You're just an accident waiting to happen by doing something like that. So yeah, we had a couple of comments to respond for that were from last week. Why do Americans hate us Canadians? Pat wrote, I don't hate Canadians. If I did, I would not be here. I'm from New York State. Just because famous person shows a hatred, that doesn't apply to the majority of the rest of us. And that's what I was saying. It isn't the average everyday American person that we as Canadians hate. We hate, you know who we hate. Okay? But I must say that when people write a comment like this to justify they don't hate Canadians, I think they're feeling a little guilty about why the situation is the way it is. Because you want to know something? We as Canadians did not put Trump in power. You know, remember that. And also, we're not Americans. We are Canadians. Thank you very much. And then Angelica wrote, it's just another way for Trump to make money. That's all he cares about, besides oil, drilling for oil and natural resources. I mean, referring to here that, you know, why he keeps attacking us as Canadians. Yeah, we know. He wants our resources. Can't have them. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. You're not going to get it. Can't have it. Screw you. Yeah. But generally speaking, it is an American people we hate. And having said that, we don't intend to come down to the United States until probably about 2340. And we'll just use the teleporter at that point and pop right in. Yeah, kind of a thing. Yeah, sorry about that. Just sorry. Okay. And just see anything else here. Nope. Okay. So thanks for joining us today. If you have suggestions for topics you'd like us to explore, please put them in the comment section below. We'll be happy to look into that because it's always good to, I enjoy looking at things that you want us to look at. Also, it takes pressure off me all the time trying to come up with something. But anyways, so tune in tomorrow for the live. No, Walter won't be there. It'll just be me. He'll be snoring away. At 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Monday Morning Coffee with Stephen. And that one is going to be live, as I already mentioned. Tuesday, the Idiot Quilter. We're going to talk about my latest fabric haul because, yes, I bought more Christmas fabric. And we're going to talk a little bit about Walter's quilt that I'm finishing. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff, too, on that one. And on Friday, So Chatty. We don't have a topic yet, so if you've got some ideas there, get them to us as quick as possible. So I'm not sure what we'll be talking about on So Chatty. And then we're back to this. How the week flies by. Okay. Hope everybody has a great what's left of the day today and a great week next week. And we'll see everybody later. So, bye.
Bye.